Yay. Hello to my beautiful friend, Kate. I am so happy to be having this conversation with you. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. So I just want to introduce you in to the world of my clients and my people, and so many of them already know you, but I just want to talk today about like all of the amazing gifts that you bring to this world and how you have helped me so much and how you really, spread your positive light and energy in so many various ways. And so I just think back to like years ago when we both had, it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago before we met, and I kept running into people who were like, don't you know Kate Lawrence? And I'm like, no. And it was like over and over again, like, don't you know Kate Lawrence? No, but I like have to meet her. And now it's like, of course we had to meet and we had to connect, and then we can, have our beautiful friendship. But anyways, yeah.
And same for me too. People were like, "How do you not know Allie Hively?" I'm like, "I don't know." They're like, "You've never met her?" I'm like, "No." And then the first time I met you, it was like I had known you my whole life.
I know that was so crazy. That
Which,
was
as
so
we know now, this is not our first life
right.
together.
We've been connected for many eternity.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So let's talk about all of the good things you do. But first, give us a little info on like your history. You have not always been in this energy world. You've not always been in the place that you are now. And you have such a powerful history that's brought you to where you are today. So like give us a little insight on that.
So I would say this isn't just a totally foreign space that I live in now. I grew up in a house where my mom was always reading tarot cards with her friends, and we would go up to the crystal shop or the mystic shop and get crystals and smudge the house and burn incense and, just kind of lived in that world. And I remember having my birth chart read when I was 13, and just kind of helped to paint a picture of what I maybe my envision what my life would be like in the future. So, I just kind of always had a belief in otherworldly things and just stayed on the straight and narrow path and went to school for HR, ended up in the healthcare field at Metro Health with a really good internship there, and was working kind of more in the organizational development, organizational psychology side of things. And at a young age at Metro Health Hospital here, I was put on a committee. It was an interdisciplinary committee with a bunch of other people from the hospital. I mean, I was literally 22 years old and sitting on this committee with a bunch of physicians and people from all over the hospital. And what we were trying to do was, it was more of like a proactive approach to like managing sick leave and FMLA and trying to get employees like a lot more healthy or to be take better care of themselves. And through that, things started to evolve. This is like in the early 2000s before there were, now commonplace is for every workplace to have a wellness program. But back then it was just kind of the early stages for that kind of stuff. And my boss had asked me to start a yoga program or bring yoga on site for employees. And so I found a couple instructors, brought them on site. That was the first program for healthcare employees in Northeast Ohio before anybody else was doing it. And we had that set up for employees there. And of course, I started practicing at that time too, and knew I always wanted to teach, and just kind of followed along with that program for a while. And then eventually through my career, because I worked in HR, we started to collaborate with a physician there and create an create a employee wellness program and link it up with benefits, link it up with the employee health clinic, and kind of fell into that more traditional role. So I started that from scratch, was a co-creator and the co-leader with a physician there. Again, from a very young age, I was put in a managerial role, and just kind of, was always really assertive and just kind of getting my nose into different things, and just, found my way to a very visible place within the organization. And luckily people saw my light and helped me shine it. And I worked in that program, and it was a very successful program, and eventually started to get into more integrated therapies as I was there. In my last couple of years there, I got into Reiki, connected with some of the advanced practice nurses that were coming to the yoga classes were running the Hands to Heart Reiki clinic there, and started practicing Reiki, did my level 1 training. And just as things do, I just kind of fell into different ways. I had started my 200-hour yoga training at that point before I had quit working. And, eventually just one door opened after another, and I ended up resigning from that position. And that was really mostly to focus on my family, but at the same time, um, so many other things were happening for me, and so many other things were opening up in my mind and my world. And I just kind of felt like it was a time for me to veer off. So I created my own business and started my own business, which I would say started kind of in like the aromatherapy realm, because I created my own line of like botanical apothecary products, and was doing Reiki on the side and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And now it's changing all the time and it's evolving all the time. And I guess we can probably go more into that if you have more questions, but that's just kind of how I got my start.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So you started in like such a place of wellness and self-care, and then has like just evolved, obviously not losing track of all those foundations, which I think is the base of it. And like obviously something that I talk about all the time, right? Like without those foundations of the wellness piece, like the nutrition and the movement and the self-care and the mindset, all of those things, then you, when you have those really solidly in place, then you can go on to bringing in all of this space, and not completely separate, but it does really help for you to access more of like those higher, more spiritual, more energetic pieces. So I think that's, yeah, that's so huge. I want to just even share how our experience, like my experience with you. So like when I first started working with you, I just knew you as like a yoga instructor, and then you did aromatherapy just with like products and things. And then you evolved, or I started learning more about how you actually work with clients and like on an energy level. So if you are familiar or have taken Raise Your Vibe, then you know like my very limited knowledge of energy, but my like fascination with it. And you know how so much of what we put out in the world is just our energy and the way that we're operating in our vibe. But then to go on and really understand that like that comes, where does that come from, and how does everything that we're experiencing kind of tune into like our higher power, our higher person, our next level self, all of those things that we can talk about. So when it comes to aromatherapy, one of the most amazing experiences I had, especially at the beginning, and I continue to have with you, is like the fact that you pair aromatherapy with energy and with intuition and even with balancing chakras and all of that. So talk a little bit about how that works. And I know that your business is evolving and like you're evolving, but this is such a beautiful piece. And if you're newer to the energy world and you are not sure how you want to start experiencing energy healing, I think that this is like just such a relaxing and comfortable and like beautiful experience. And so I'd love for you to just talk about like what that could look like, because I think so many of the people in my world and my audience are they're so interested in this energy healing, and they're so interested in just like, well, how does it work and what does it look like? And I think part of it is just the experience that you create. So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
So I'm going to go backwards a little bit and talk about how my role with aromatherapy evolved. And initially, as I first created my company, it was really like, well, here, very like prescriptive, like, oh great, well, peppermint does this, and like we're going to help your belly, and like I know aromatherapy is everywhere now. Like it's kind of what do you say, jump the shark? Like it's everywhere. And even before it was everywhere, I had started to kind of change my perspective and the way that I was working with it. And could have put a lot more focus in like building that retail side. But the more that that piece kind of grew, I wanted to retract, because I felt like there was so much more to it than just this like prescriptive approach. And the more that I started to work with the oils, I felt like they were trying to speak to me, and there was so much more that they wanted to share and so much more that they wanted to do than just be these like products on this like random shelf somewhere. And so I practice what I call now more of intuitive aromatherapy. And I might sound a little bit out there for people, but when I bring you into my space and we talk about the oils and how I work with them, the way that I explain it is, obviously the plant world really resonates with me, the animal world really resonates with me. And each one of these oils is basically the soul of this plant. So when I'm working with the energetics of an oil, we're kind of invoking the energy that this plant has as it exists in nature. So there, of course, are the therapeutic properties that these things have, which is what we're most familiar with. So like, oh, great, that's great. It's an anti-inflammatory. Lavender is a central nervous system sedative, so it makes you sleepy, like all these things. Those exist. But what we're really missing is that energetic piece, which they're actually very much aligned if you end up looking at where things are manifesting in the physical body and versus like the energetic bodies or where we're carrying emotions. So the way that I work with clients is really about intention setting and then using aromatherapy or using the energetics around the oils to kind of help to support that individual. So I actually don't even look at the oils. What I do is I ask for 3 oils to come forward that are best going to support that individual in their journey at this time. So I kind of use them as you would use an oracle card. And you can attest to this, as can all of my other clients, that it's not only a beautiful process, it's generally extremely poignant with what's going on with the individual. So we'll pull 3 oils and we'll kind of look at the energetic profile of each of those oils. And there's usually like a main theme that pops up. So for example, I'm writing a post right now to share a custom blend that I did for a client. And the blend is called Allow. And it's kind of, it's a real like heart opening, grounding, clarifying blend that's going to support this individual as they move into this space of moving away from resistance and moving into a space of allowing. So, we went through all the different oils, what their properties are, and how this individual will then use that oil. I create a custom blend for clients so that as they're doing what I say, their work, you're kind of like working through your stuff, however long that takes. And you would use these oils or use your blend to kind of call upon those energies, to call upon the intention that you set so that those oils can support you and kind of infuse you with like almost like support and encouragement, and just so we can use the plants in a lot different ways than how they've kind of been like mass marketed to be used. It's such a beautiful process, like I said, and it's customized. I've never pulled the same 3 oils twice. And yeah, it's a lot different than I've heard of other people maybe using them similarly, but this is a technique that just evolved through me and through listening to my own intuition and working with the oils, and it's just kind of evolved as you've seen. So
I love that so much. And I think two things. One is it's so beautiful because you can do it right now, you can do it remotely. So you
yeah.
can do it through Zoom. So if you aren't local to Cleveland, or if you are, or if obviously because of COVID, then things are not the same. So it's actually like energy and intuition and everything travel across state lines and around the world and beyond. And so that's something that I think has been so amazing too. It's not something that you have to be in person for, although if you are able to, or when things kind of change and open back up, then the in-person experience of coming into your space and having you choose the oils and kind of discuss them and then do more of like an aromatherapy massage where you're cleansing the energy is like the most beautiful, relaxing, and just grounding and uplifting at the same time experience. So I think that is so huge to note too, that like you can create this experience on your own, you can create this experience from a remote standpoint, but then being in your space is so huge. And yeah, like the way that your guidance comes in to play with the oils that you pull is so powerful, because that's where like I think the energy healing I mean, of course, yes, the oil can like have a positive impact, but it's really like the conversation that you have like with me or with a client about the oil and about the themes and about the things that come up that allows so much healing to happen, because they're always so aligned, and then there's so much validation, and there's so much um just understanding that like there's something supporting you, like you said, like some higher power that's supporting you. And I think so that I mean, that experience is just so incredible and amazing to have.
And so when I pull the oils, that generally happens before the client is with me or before we meet, whether that's virtually or in person. And then usually, almost always, something about our conversation before we're even working together resonates with that individual, and more things will come to me, and I'm just kind of guided as to where things may be out of balance or where we can work on different particular areas. And I think the best thing about, well, one of the most beneficial things about the way that I work is that you don't just leave like, okay, well, now what? So what I provide for clients after we are done working together, if you do the aromatherapy session, is a summary of our session, a summary of the oils, and kind of some key takeaways for that individual to go back and reflect on so that they can maybe set intentions as they're working through it. So it's not like I'm just like, bye, out the door, like, good luck, here's your blend. It's like, let me know how I can support you. Here's how the oils can support you. Here's what spirit's coming through and saying to me. This is what I assess from your energetic body and what's going on, or emotions or whatever. And there's just so much support. The universe is here to support you. Everybody's here to support you. The oils are coming through to support you on this mission. And I think it also gives people kind of a bite-size intention, or something that they can work on within themselves. It's not like we have to, not that anything's wrong with any of us, but it's something that we can just focus on. It's one little thing that we can focus on that has a huge impact on all the other different centers.
Yes, I love that. And speaking of that, like, so when it comes to chakras, this is something that is just so fascinating. Of course, it's a whole world. We could talk for hours and hours about chakras and how they work. But what exactly do you feel like is really most important to know and understand? And then I think like for me, you really opened my eyes to chakras, and you really helped me to understand like the power in them being balanced, and them being blocked, and them being not aligned, and how those things are different. So, I mean, what one thing that also that you do energetically is help to balance chakras and open them and clear them. And so, what do you feel like is really important to kind of know or notice, not only about like the way that you help with them, but just like how our chakras are so powerful to how we show up in the world, and to what we're putting out in the world, and to our energy in general?
So I just had a client the other day, and I will say that 98% of clients are completely blocked when they come up on the table. So, people are always like, oh God, they're all blocked. I'm like, it's okay. This is a very common thing. It would be uncommon, for it to not be that way. And, the loaded question is, well, what can I do? Like, how are they all blocked? What can I do to make sure this doesn't keep happening or whatever? And I'm like, that is a loaded question, because there's so many different variables. What I would say for somebody that's just kind of coming into this space, or just at least getting acquainted with these energy centers that are in our body, is to become familiar with their location, and to become familiar with the physiological responses associated with each, so that and not to memorize them, but like maybe just like do like a little deep dive, like, okay, let's talk about the root chakra. Like, what are some things, like, what does that govern in the body? What do those emotions feel like? And so once you become familiar with what those chakras do, where they exist, how they might influence you in this world, then you can go back in and use them kind of as a diagnostic tool and be like, wow, you know what? Like, I really lashed out on my kids today. Like, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And maybe that's coming from a place in the solar plexus, which is our space of control and morale and drive, those are great things to have. But sometimes when that is over abundant with energy, then we might be like, like kind of almost like I said, like explosive. So you could kind of like pull that power center back in, get a little bit more control, and kind of be able to diagnose, or like, if you might wake up one day and you're like, I just like can't get my head on straight, like I'm just not feeling like myself, or I can't like think or whatever, like that could be like a two-part thing. It could be like you might not be grounded. So we could look at the root chakra. Let's look at what the root chakra does. It keeps us grounded in our space. Or we might be clouded in our head because we've let in too many like distracting thoughts or whatever. So I tell people, become familiar with how the chakras work, where they exist, their functions. The more that you do that, the more that you work with me, the more familiar that you'll become. And then one of the other things is to be very mindful about what you are taking in and letting into your energetic field. So even before you learn everything that there is to know about chakras, one thing that you can do that's very simple is just to think about like how you are, just think about everything being a process of digestion for your body, and not just necessarily from like the physical sense of what you eat, but how you're emotionally digesting experiences, what you're taking in from social media, news outlets, whatever it is, from your children, from your family, your spouse, whatever. Just making sure that you are very protective of this vessel that you have, and so that you can be there and set good boundaries for yourself, good energetic boundaries to keep yourself clear. So again, a loaded question. So
Such a
kind
loaded
of
question. I know.
yeah,
I didn't even know how to ask because like chakras are obviously so huge, and we could go, like I said, talk about them for hours. But I think your points are perfect because it's like, what can I do? I mean, that's what we really want to know, right? Like,
right.
what can I do? And
So
all the things that you said really, really relate to awareness and reflection. Because without that, it's like you don't have any power over
right,
your chakra, or not that you want power over it, but like if you don't have awareness and an ability or a practice of reflecting, then you really are for sure going to be more disconnected.
right. That's why I think it's helpful to work individually with clients too, because if we're identifying like generally most people will have like one or two that like that might be where their like seed issues live within them, and those might be the ones that like tend to be to go off or be more imbalanced over others. And so again, becoming familiar with that individual, working with them, and then I can coach them and be like, these are some things that you can do, or this is how you can support yourself as you're moving along this journey. We're not going to Don't worry about everything all at once. Like, this is just what you are able to handle at this very moment in time. Let's work on this. And, kind of, again, like I said, like not learning everything all at once, just kind of taking things in like bite-sized pieces. I will add that I am working on a workshop for Taproot Yoga in Chardon. David Ramsey, he's the owner there. He's an energetic practitioner and a very important mentor of mine. Him and I are doing an intro to energetics, or foundations of energetics, through Taproot Yoga, through their School of Energetics. We'll be doing that, I think, at the end of February or March, beginning of March. So we'll be doing a big deep dive on the energy centers there. That will be available online and in person, and also talking about the energetic bodies. So if you're wanting to learn more than just what I would do in a session, that's a really cool place to start.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so huge. And I think even just knowing, you hear about chakras maybe at a yoga class that you take or online that you take, but knowing how much power that they have for you, and that they are there to like support you. And of course that they get, of course we all get them out of balance and blocked on a regular basis because we're experiencing life, but just recognizing that like that's another piece of your body to be aware of, and like it really ties your body and your mind and your connection to all things together, where as we're talking about energy, it's like exactly, this is all related and all connected. So yeah, I think that and again, one of the biggest um like the experience that I have working with you on, like you helping to coach me about, where I'm imbalanced, where I'm blocked, where I am open, and be like, oh, okay, awesome. Like, is been so empowering because it's like you're basically giving me that glimpse by tapping into my energy and then helping to understand what, where I am. And then also then it gives me, same as the aromatherapy, a point of like focus. I'm like, okay, if this is something that's happened, like let me reflect back over the past few weeks. Let me reflect where I am in my life. Oh, that makes complete sense. Why this is out of line, or this is blocked. I've been going through this, or this is what's been happening. And so it really, again, like doing the work with you helps to validate so much of what I'm experiencing. And I think, you know, the energy, the energy work in general is really that it's allowing you to hear yourself when you constantly are questioning. We always talk about this, of course, in our conversations, like we're always questioning ourselves and we don't feel like, what we're thinking, we all, if we even pause enough to think, then we're always second guessing, we're always questioning. So when you work with someone like you, when you work with an energetic healer, you're getting a huge amount of support and a huge amount of validation that, like, yes, what you're going through is real, and yes, it's having this impact, positive and negative, and all the things in between. So I think that is such a huge gift that you really provide, is just like, this is real and it's affecting you. And not only that, but I can, there's so many ways to support you, and now here are some of those ways. So i think um I think that's just an amazing gift that you have. And it is just one of the few ways. So we've talked about a couple ways that
Yeah.
you work. And I feel like this is almost like your work that's become like second nature to you, right? You can do this in
Yeah.
your sleep. And like, as you're growing in your practices, as you're growing in your healing journey, as you're learning to experience the world, like, what's like some of your true mission in like what you want to really do right now?
So I would say that, I've got a lot of different things going on right now, a lot of hands in a lot of different pots. But I think if you look at all of them, I think my ultimate goal is really just like this ongoing journey of self discovery for myself, and just ways that I can be more accountable in this world, just taking responsibility for my behavior, the choices that I make, really owning all that, and just like, how to be a better human, so that I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better friend, I'm a better yoga teacher, I'm a better healer, all these different things that I'm doing just to make sure that I am, authentic to myself, and just staying true to myself and to my purpose. And helping other people do that too, and that's the one thing that I always stress when I'm with people too, is that, it's not my energy. I'm not doing anything. I might be able to transmute it. I might be able to move it. I'm really just a conduit, that really the healing happens with ourselves. And it's really this ripple effect. So I think, you'll see in the next iteration of my career, or the different things that I have kind of out there that I'm about to really launch and dive into, is more just about like providing that self-reflection for people, and really kind of like sparking some curiosity so that people want to go deeper. And I think once you spark that, even if it's, for whatever it is that I'm doing, or whatever it is that's happening, just wanting people to go deeper, or having people want to go deeper, and just, you'll see, once one door opens, just like, I mean, just watching your transformation over time, and that's like the best thing about working with clients over a long period of time, is just to watch this transformation as their eyes begin to open, and they begin to just like come into this new world, and just this curiosity and this drive. And so I don't know if that answered your question. I guess really just opening my own eyes, really up leveling my own level of consciousness in this human experience that we're in, and trying to help people realize where they fall in that world too, so that we can, again, just all be better humans, and be better to each other, be better to ourselves, and just living in our highest truth.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And like, as you have been living this mission, of course, you've been doing a lot of, I want to say, like individualized, customized, hands-on support of people. So the other thing that you do, and we can talk again a whole hour to a day about Thai massage. So Thai massage is another one of your practices that, or services that you provide, which is this most, again, if you are looking to just really connect more into your body. Thai massage with Kate is like so it's like a dream. It's like it's getting stretched. It's like a matter of doing yoga at the same time. It's energy. It is the most like beautiful, relaxing, opening your body and everything experience. And so with that, with your aromatherapy piece, with even just your energy sessions of chakra balancing and the insights that you provide with that, all of these things are very individualized. And then of course you teach yoga. And so and you're working at 2+ yoga studios currently, and so that's always evolving. But as you're moving forward with your business and with your mission, a big part of what's coming is a new brand for you, and it's really launching um, this the Smart Beach, which is going to basically take everything that you've done already and really help to continue to like be able to spread your message and your own learnings. So talk a little about like what you envision for that. And of course, this is going to change. I mean, my mission, right, it like evolves all the time. So it starts with something more basic and then it's evolving all the time. But I think it's just beautiful how you've taken this like more specific. It's similar to my journey where it's like personal training, working one-on-one, cooking meals for people. And now it's like going bigger picture. So talk about the Smart Beach for a little bit before we hop off.
So I have two different business, well, almost two different businesses. So my first business, what we've been talking about, I operate under the guise of Sage and Soul. That's my business. You can go to my website, which is www.sageandsoul.com. If you want to look at the list of services and like what you said about individualizing services, like a lot of people will contact me. They're like, I don't know what to book with you, or like some of my more pragmatic customers, at least on the front end, if they're like, I don't really believe in chakras, like, I don't know, like that doesn't really resonate with me, then I'm like, let's just start on the mat because everybody likes a good massage, right? And so Thai massage, like you said, like is just another way for me to work with the energy and the body, actually in a more physical sense, obviously. And a lot of things will still come through. People's clients will usually alternate between both services once they know me and once they become more familiar with what I offer. And then of course, more personalized coaching if it comes to like dietary stuff. I have extensive background and education in Ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga. It's a whole different topic, but that's just one more modality and one more resource in my toolbox that I can use and help kind of, send out with my clients depending on what's going on with them. So like you said, a very personalized, individualized. It's not a one size fits all. It's really just like me assessing using all these different tools that I have to kind of make sure that I'm supporting that individual in the best way that I can. So the Smart Beach is my new brand. Of course, all of these are different facets of me. And so I would say that the Sage and Soul is kind of like the behind the scenes. Like that's like the worker. She's doing all of the healing and she's doing all of her healing arts and all the integrated therapies. And the Smart Beach is kind of like this external face of me. And it's almost not almost, it is representative of kind of how I've grown into my own too. And I'm kind of ready to put myself out there more. I've kind of, it's nice for me to like hide under my little like Sage and Soul umbrella, but it's time for the Smart Beach to be released. And it's going to be a journey. It's going to start first with a podcast. And again, the intention behind it is the tagline is a muse to light your fuse. So what I was talking about, kind of igniting a spark within people. It's going to be me interviewing really mostly people that are already in my circle that have really influenced my journey. And it's going to kind of follow me on this road of self-discovery. I really want to just come at everything with what the Zen Buddhists call a beginner's mind, where you just kind of like empty everything that you know so that you can come to the well and fill it up. Because like doesn't matter, like you could pick up a book and read it 10 times and each time you're going to learn something new. And so that's what I want to do. Even though I know a lot of these topics already or think I might be an expert in one area, there's always so much more that we can know. So I'm going to be doing interviews, probably some candid discussions like between you and I, and just kind of highlighting all these wonderful people that are in my circle and then other people that are experts or might have expertise in other areas that I think are interesting. So it's kind of be a little bit self-serving in that it's things that I want to explore further in the hopes that people that are listening in might benefit, or it might again spark some curiosity within them to just kind of raise that vibe, bring their level of consciousness up, just whatever we can do just to be better versions of ourselves, as cliche as that is, but it's true, knowing that we're all connected, that we all have these things that we can do to help us, be better people, and just kind of see how that evolves.
I love that. I love that so much. I know. I think that's one of the things too. That's, I mean, not one, we're like so connected on so many things, but of our joint mission, right, is to provide people with more tools and more resources. And I think that your Sage and Soul, of course, does that. And like the Smart Beach is then doing that like on a broader scale to where you're actually like magnifying it, where the Sage and Soul is more like the tuning in, like you said. And so, but ultimately, even the point of like this interview, which I think we will for sure continue to have these more open conversations that aren't as much interview focused, because we're always just sharing so much of what we experience. And even like our conversation before this call started about everything that you have been going through is so similar to what I've been experiencing and like needed to hear. And we know that from our own clients, we know that from our audiences, we know that from just people in the world, that always happens, right? You're always like, oh my gosh, that I needed to hear that. And like, that's so beautiful. So the more experiences that we can put out there for people to say like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that today. And that's what we focus on getting for ourselves all the time is so hugely important. And that's ultimately what we really want to share, even though, like I said, we could talk for hours today. I just wanted to make sure that my audience, my clients really had an understanding of just a teeny little bit, because we could go on about all the things that you do, but really just providing another opportunity to tap back into yourself, to take better care of yourself, to learn that you have so many resources and so many tools available to you. And so often we just don't even know that they exist. And so by just bringing your awareness to like all of these different things, hopefully then you of course can ask Kate any questions. We'll put all our contact info in here. You can of course can ask me any questions, but then also you'll start to see things, you'll start to hear things. Someone will say something about chakras, someone will talk about, the things that we've just spoke about, and you'll start to think like, oh, maybe that's time for me. And so just kind of encouraging you to recognize, like, as you now hear some of the things that we talked about, or if you start thinking like, maybe I do want to do that, then like take action and like reach out to Kate and set up a session, or start to dip your toe into this world that is so full of support for you and really can help you move forward on your Kijia, on your path. And it also can speed it up, because that's one thing I love so much. I'm like, Kate, I have Kate on my maintenance plan, right? So I work with her every few weeks so that I can just continuously learn from her and learn from myself in what she activates and what she can see for me. And so I think that's another piece, is like we're all on our journey, like you said, to feel like the best version of ourselves. And also we don't have to do it alone. And we can do it quicker when we get other people who are focused on this to help us. So yes, do you have anything else you want to add? I mean, I think like this is part one of part however many.
Yeah, I would just say that, if people don't even know where to start, just to contact me. It's just a great place just to be able to chat and just, see like, before even people book a session, they're like, I'm like, do you want to be on the mat? Do you want to be on the table? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, you know what? And I'll kind of call on my people, my higher powers, and just be like, all right, you know what? And they'll come up and I'm like, you're on the mat today. It's
That's
where
the
you're at.
best, right?
Yeah.
It's
This
like,
is where we need to start.
yes.
Right.
And like being able to lean back, I think like I'm such a go, go, go person. I remember even being in your session the first time, I was like, what does she want? What do I do? And you're just like, lean back. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like to lean back. And now, like, I mean, this has evolved so much. And now I'm just like, take me, Kate. Like,
Right.
right. So yes, just like taking that first step and then allow yourself to lean back, and like you can, that's the most relaxing part, is just like being led and like allow you to, which you then can tap into, each person's what feels best. which I think is so huge. So taking that step to reach out and just to learn a little bit more and see if it feels like a good fit. And the best thing for you too is that you have options. So it's not like this is all you do. You can really have that conversation and find out like about a person, where they are on their journey and what might best serve them for where they are trying to go, which I think is huge too.
Oh,
Yes. Amazing. Okay, so we will continue on, but everyone definitely go check out Kate Lawrence. We'll put all our contact info in the bottom of this so you guys can just click on it and be led to the Smart Beach and Sage and Soul, as well as Kate's brand. And if you're local to Cleveland, Chagrin Falls, then she's happy to provide places that she teaches yoga, workshops, and other opportunities for more in-person working together. So thanks, girl. I love you so much.
thank
And
you.
yes, we'll
Love
keep
you too.